Welcome to the show, Mark Sebastian.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, um, I wanted to discuss a couple things with you, but I wanted to kind of first start at the beginning. Maybe you joined Group One, I think, around the same time I left. Probably a little bit after I left in 2001, was it?
Yeah, I started in 2001,
Okay,
right out of college in New York.
okay. So maybe we overlapped a little bit there because I
Yeah, I
think
know. So like Andrew and I overlapped by 3 months.
okay, yeah. So we definitely overlapped because Andrew left before I did by like a year or something like that. So you
Yeah,
started on the Amex with what was that guy's name that was running the things there at the time?
Norton,
Mike
Mike
Norton.
Norton.
Yeah, yeah. He's a cool guy. I kind of kept in touch with him for a little while.
Yeah, he moved back. He was from Chicago,
Hmm.
but did all of his trading on the P Coast, and then they sent him to New York to run the show. So you figure that one out. And then he ended up being the co-CEO for a while, and with uh, Greeby,
Hmm.
John, and then yeah, but I was there, then I left, and then I came back, and then I left again. So there have been a few Group One boomerangs though. I think you'd be surprised. Andrew's old partner, Group One boomeranged for a little bit.
Mm.
That's when you leave and come back.
Right. Which guy? Which guy was
Henry,
that? Oh yeah, yeah,
Henry,
Andrew Henry. Yeah, he was a smooth operator, Andrew Henry, and very impressive. He like totally sidestepped a couple crashes by just going to cash at the right moment.
really
Yeah, he did really well for himself, Andrew Henry. It was a smooth cat. So,
awesome.
so what was it? I'm kind of curious as to what it was like at Group One after I left. Did you stay in New York or did you go to Chicago at
I
some
went to
point?
Chicago.
Okay.
The Chicago office was fine. It was nice. I mean, that was when the hybrid was really working. And so I was actually a market maker when they implemented like institutionalized payment for order flow, and that was kind of the end of everything.
Mm.
Um, that basically said, we don't need. It was basically, you'd trade all month, right? You'd make 40, 50,000 bucks. Not a bad way to make a living, right?
Right.
And then you'd get a bill for 30,000 for payment for order flow.
Oh,
And
no
you'd be like,
kidding.
what? And it was just PFOF is what killed the independent market maker. And and exactly what I said was going to happen has happened. All the Citadels, everybody that paid for that flow, cut everybody out. And now what has happened? There's no liquidity anymore. Markets have widened out, and they're making a lot more money on. They're making more money trading less because spreads are super wide.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at this stock CACI today, and the markets were like super wide. Yeah, I left before that. Like, I went to the board of trade and tried my hand at bonds and stuff, and I got out of there before that payment for order flow stuff. But by the time I left there was like they were trying to cross every order, and they wanted like
Mm-hmm.
they before they were like sharing with us. Then they wanted to like cross the whole order and give us nothing, and it was just a nightmare. It became a nightmare.
Yes.
So what happened with Group One? Did they slowly like move everybody off the floor to like terminals or something like that?
I mean, so they slowly figured out. They slowly decided that they didn't need experienced market makers anymore, except for at the very top,
Mm-hmm.
and slowly cut and slowly replaced everybody that was on a split, things like that, into salaried employees. There are very few people that are on the old split anymore at that firm. They're mostly young guys that are working there now, and they're upstairs.
Well, I
Although
noticed.
interestingly, one of my buddies is on the box floor now.
Oh wow. What about so then Ben took the helm of things, sort of? Is that what
Yeah, and then
happened?
he also got the he doesn't work there anymore either. You're aware.
Yes, I'm aware. I know that happened in the last year or
Last 2 years,
two.
and then last
Yeah.
3 years. Then he went over to ConvergeX, and then now he's actually on the sidelines for a little bit. He's in uh, contractual mandated uh, uh, short-term retirement.
I understand what you mean. It's like he has to wait till the non-disclosure runs out or something
Till
like
ever
that.
till all the non-compete, non-disclosure stuff.
And I know none of this is probably interesting to anybody but us, but I don't
It's
care
I
because
know
it's
it is.
yeah,
Ben's a good, but you know what?
yeah.
He and I had our differences when I was at Group One.
Hmm.
But then actually once he got at Convergex, he and I developed a pretty decent friendship.
Cool. Yeah, I got back in contact with him about 6 months ago, and he's a nice guy. One person I still haven't actually been able to reach is Dominic. Now Dominic and I came up
Dom
together.
Salvino?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he and I came up together. Like we were in the same Group One class, and we're roommates in San Francisco, et
Oh
cetera, et
wow.
cetera. He used to let me. He'd say, "Whatever changes in your pocket is all you have to pay to be able to sleep in my office during the day." So I go up and sleep on his couch sometimes.
Oh really? That's funny.
Yeah, but he was
I
super
mean, he is
rocket
the VIX
scientist.
guy. He
Yeah,
is the VIX guy.
yeah,
He worked with SIBO and Goldman to develop that product and is the reason it's successful.
yeah. That's what I've heard. And like I said, I've been trying to get back in contact with him. Like I reached out through his wife and stuff because I was friends with his wife and everything. But I still haven't reached him yet. But I'm sure I will at some point. He's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
a
next time I'm
quirky
on the
guy.
floor, I'll bug him if I see him.
Yeah, just say that I say hi to him because I'm always interested. There were four of us that went to San Francisco together, and we're all sort of in contact still. So, all right. So everybody, so Group One. So what was your time period with Group One, as far
Oh,
as
like 01 to 03 and then 05 to 07.
okay?
So 5 years total, I believe.
So what would you have been in a typical day? What would you have been doing from in the '05 to '07 range? Would you have been
You know,
upstairs?
no, I was down on the floor. I was down
Okay.
on the floor. I was in General Motors.
Okay.
And we would I was in so arrive, 7:30, look at everything that's going on. At that point we were using Actant, and so I actually spent most of my time going through making sure that kind of the edge requirements that I had in order to make a trade were up to speed and at a level that I liked. So, generally speaking, I wanted I wanted my quotes to have my options to have 4 cents an edge, which meant I could quote 10 cents wide.
So explain that to people when you say Actant. You
Uh,
had a sort of a quoting software that you were
yeah,
studying.
so I had basically Actant was the airplane, I was the pilot.
Hmm.
But it's a lot more like being a pilot now, where really had to make sure everything was running right, and then I'm just doing a little bit of steering throughout the day. Watching order flow come in so that I can tell, I'm buying way too much of this or I'm selling way too much of that,
Hmm.
and I can move things around. And that's really the kind of what I was doing all day.
Now, at that point, was most of the order flow being handled electronically?
I would say we were about. I think our stats said it was like 65. We still had a par broker, things like that. So I think it was 65-35.
Okay.
All the small trades were Actant and that were on Actor, but anything over than like a 10 lot typically was on. No, that's not true. There was some big stuff. Mostly the stuff that was electronic that was big was me getting run over by, that and that was about that.
Yeah, I just because I like that was a bad period in my life. Like I got out of the business and stuff, but I'm kind of curious as to what it was like on the floor at that time
Believe it
because I
or
was
not,
pulling
that
from
was one of
the.
the better times to be trading if you
Okay.
had technology behind you.
Okay.
That was before Group One. Group One was still paying okay
Hmm.
and they had a technology budget, and then so that was nice. Um, and then kind of that all changed. When I tried to leave and be kind of an independent guy, it was very difficult to trade independently,
Hmm.
extremely, which I did until almost 2010.
Wow. Yeah, and so so did you um have some sort of partial backing, or you just tried to self
I
fund
was had
completely?
partial backing, partial
Okay.
backing.
Okay. Yeah.
But that it was impossible. Again, you'd make a bunch of money and then you get this crazy payment for order flow bill from the SIBO.
Wow.
And because this, like I said, institutionalized payment for order flow is the single worst thing to happen to the industry
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. It seems
So,
like it.
and if you want to know why you can't get any trades done, that is why. Everyone that's complaining about why can't I get any money, I can't get anything done. The answer is payment for order flow ruined it for everybody. Thank you, Susquehanna, for coming up with that awful idea. Which actually, you know who originally started payment for order flow, right?
No, who's that?
Bernie Madoff.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it came from such a brilliant mind as Bernie Madoff, it must be a great idea.
So what's the status of Susquehanna? How did Susquehanna fare during that period?
They did well.
Okay.
Susk and Group 1 were able to kind of keep up. Susquehanna still is doing really well. I don't know how Group 1 is doing so nowadays.
Well, I actually did have a back and forth with both Heidi and Rich in the last like 2 months, and
Rich,
Rich Greeby, which
oh wow.
I'm amazed that he's still there. To be honest
Is
with
he
you,
still there? I thought they gave him the boot.
he wrote an email back to me as an official Group 1 email, so he's
Wow.
still there as of like a month ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking that he was gone a long time ago, but the rumors are beyond the scope of what I want to broadcast on my
Yeah.
YouTube channel, but but yeah, amazingly he and Heidi was still there. Heidi had a different last name, but she was still there too, and they were actually very cordial to me, which was
Well, that's good.
great. Yeah,
Why
'cause
did you leave on bad terms?
no, but you never know with companies. It had been like 20 years or something, and
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was like, I wanted them to like give me some background paperwork from my old P&L and stuff like that, and they were very accommodating. So that was
Oh, that's good.
good for them. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was very nice. Yeah. So then I was looking at your LinkedIn, and it looks like you started to get into sort of the education world after that.
Yeah. I did, and it's interesting. I got while I was kind of sitting on the sidelines, I worked for an educator and realized how poorly everyone was being taught, and kind of had it at it with that educator. I said, "Why don't you give me 20% of the firm, and I'll redo your education so it's really good. You'll be the face, and we'll make a killing." And he said, "I've got a better idea. You're not working for me anymore."
Ugh.
So I said, "You're going to create a competitor. You realize that, right?" And he said, "The birdie's got to fly." I said, "Fine, done." So I started Option Pit, and that's how we came into existence. And I'm really, I like what I'm doing here. I really do.
Yeah, I
And
like what you're doing there too. It's
yeah,
it's like a
and
high level.
Andrew's awesome. And then I've got, everybody that works here knows how to trade and understands the concept of trading and teaches a kind of from a professional level. If you want to trade, the big joke is people will spend more time reading the directions on a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese than they'll spend teaching themselves how to properly trade an option or a stock. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it is not the most easy thing to learn either. So
It isn't. It isn't. And what people also fail to get is if you spend a little more time at the beginning really learning this stuff, it's actually way faster to make money than just getting in there and trading.
Now let's if you can explain to people just for a second. I was reading a little bit of your latest book, and you were talking about four
Oh,
zones
thank
of.
you.
Well, I haven't read the whole thing, so
Ah.
I want to though. But I found some parts of it online that I was able to check out. But
Oh, come on.
I
Don't you
know
want to buy that great
I
book?
do. I am going
The-
to buy it.
I'll send you one
No, 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 no.
if
I
you
want to
send
support.
me the book.
No, no. I want to support you, so I'm going to buy it.
All right. All
Yeah,
right.
I want to support you.
You're the
But
man.
can you talk for a sec just about the four zones of volatility? I was
Yeah,
reading
well,
about that.
this is actually I stole this from Andrew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it was he quantified it into different zones. I think everybody already we all knew that. Um there's no such thing as high and low vol. There's kind of different levels of volatility. There's kind of really low volatility.
Hmm.
Then there's kind of which is zone 1. Then there's zone 2, which is volatility is low but moving around a little bit. Zone 3 is where volatility is kind of elevated, and zone 4 is, it's time to sell options to everybody that's crazy enough to buy them, because there's blood in the streets, and people are panicking.
I like the way how you describe it as not necessarily like specific numbers, but actually sort of the way stuff is behaving.
Yeah.
From one to another. So yesterday we had was it yesterday? The day before yesterday we had a little spike in volatility, and it was sort of like a classic.
It was
pop
crazy.
Where it came back down again.
Yeah. It was a little silly.
Yeah.
I thought.
So do you think that would that be like going from zone 1 to zone 2 right there?
I mean, we did get kind of a little bit of a lift on Wednesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
But that when you're at 10 and you get to 16, one of the things that you're almost at zone 3. Because zone 2 is 12.
Okay.
What people don't realize is how often the VIX trades 12. It is I believe 12 is 12 handle is the mode for VIX.
Right.
And that is something a lot of people don't realize. Volatility trades well below its mean more often than people realize.
Yeah, you're kind of pointing out that like when it's trading in that very low range, even though implied volatility in the options is a little bit higher, things can turn around so quickly that it's not like a for sure sale. Well, nothing's ever a for sure sale, but
no, nothing ever is a for sure sale. But I will tell you that was kind of dumb. What I thought that move on Wednesday was just ridiculous. I was like, this is just the dumbest thing I've been involved with in a while.
Yeah, it's kind of like you couldn't really point to like a catalyst for it. I mean, maybe like Turkey and the debt and all that stuff, but
it looked like the China was the big piece. That is moving thing.
Okay. Do you are you like a political person? Do you get caught up in politics?
No, that's the single dumbest thing you can do is trade your politics.
Right.
I've got clients that do that. They're like, they one of my clients likes to call him the toddler in chief, and because he's like a California liberal, great guy, but he's classic California liberal. Can't stand Trump, and I looked at him. I go, you've got to stop trying to fade this guy. And he's like, I'm like, you're not trading what's in front of you. You're trading your politics, and that will defeat you. You can't do that. And he fessed up that it was that he was maybe doing that a little bit, and he has since stopped, which makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a really important point to make, because if you hang out with people that are sort of like into politics and discussing that sort of thing, it becomes their life in a way, and I really feel like I have to police the various stuff that I'm involved with to keep people, from getting at each other's throats in there, since they're at each other's throats everywhere else anyway. So,
I mean, it's amazing how wrapped up in this silliness none of it matters. None of it matters. The amount of time we spend on the national scene and ignoring the local scene, which has a far greater effect on your life, right? Like, I live in Illinois, and I live in a state full of ridiculously crooked politicians that are bringing the state to financial ruin, right?
Yeah.
And yet, people in this state, all they want to do is talk about how much Trump sucks. Great. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. But what's happening with my property taxes and everything like that, that's what matters. So and people get wrapped up in like these little ticky tacky things, like who are you making a cake for rather than worrying about Social Security and Medicare reform. You know, things that are actually going to matter to us, right? Like you're probably not much older than I am, right? I'm just turned 40,
Right. Yeah.
and um, you know, what do I care about more? The fact that I'm not going to have Social Security or Medicare when I'm older, or you know, that somebody who's deeply religious doesn't want to bake a cake for you know, somebody.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's stupid. I mean, one, the guy should just bake the cake. Stop being an idiot. Two, who cares? If somebody doesn't want to bake you a cake, guess what? Go to a different bakery,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
But fix my Social Security. Stop distracting me, which is what they want. So that's what I think about politics.
No. Well, that's. I always like. I try to get people I interview to say as much as I can get them to say about politics without revealing anything myself, because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I have so few viewers that I don't want to alienate a single one of them at this point. So nowadays, how much percent of your time is spent trading versus on your other business ventures? And I want to get to the hedge fund in a second,
Yeah.
but
So the beauty is the overlap. So, you know, I can trade and do when people pay me to see me do my job of trading.
yeah,
So, you know, it's trading is a full-time, part-time job is the way I put it, right? Like I can go and do whatever I want. I can run my company, yada, yada, yada. But when the S hits the F, everything has to stop and I have to do my job as a trader.
okay,
So, you know, Wednesday, when everything was exploding, I hit the pause button on my option pick clients and unloaded a bunch of some of my long vol positions, and then got right back to it. And people want to see me doing that anyway.
right, yeah.
So it's kind of the best of everything, if you will.
Yeah, I found that to be the case with my little setup as well. That like, it's kind of like teaching guitar. You know, if you're giving guitar lessons, you learn to play better while you're teaching people. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, with the markets, like when stuff does get busy, well, the people that you're teaching are busy too, so they don't mind that much that
Yes.
you're gone. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some of that.
Yeah. So you got hooked up with Andrew. How did that come about? And what is your sort of relationship with Andrew right now? Are you guys business partners? Or how does it work?
Yeah. He's I'm obviously the main partner. He is a minority partner, and he's my go-to guy to fix stuff. And um, and yeah, we do stuff. He owns a piece of the fund. He owns a piece of Option Pit, and the RIA that he's working on is going to be another piece that we're going to work together.
Nice. Well, it was weird. It was weird hooking back up with him, because he and I could not have like more different personalities than each other. And if you had picked like two people in group one that were the least likely to be hanging out 20 years later, it would be him and I. So it was hilarious. I was like, I came back to trading. I saw him on some forum. He was probably like writing for Market Watch back then or something like that, and hooked back up with him. But and I was hesitant at first because, like I said, we're very different people. But it's been actually a great experience to get back and hanging out with him and stuff. And he's opened a couple of doors to me, and we've had some fun together. So that's been a great little hookup.
Yeah, I mean, he and I, our personalities aren't exactly similar, but we get along really well. I actually think putting people around you that are not the same is the best way to operate. And a lot of people don't do that. They they want to be in their little wind tunnel, their little echo chamber, so that people can tell them how right they are. When my director of operations, when I hired her, she was specifically hired to tell me to shut up and do my job and to yell at me. And so I walk in sometimes, she'd be like, and pardon my French, she'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And you know what? That's what I need. That's what, and I love her for it, platonically. She's in the room, because you have to put people around you that will put you in your place. At the fund, I just hired a boss for myself. I'm not going to be the CEO of a fund that I am the majority holder of, because I'm not. I can't run two companies. I can trade, but I can't run two companies. And so I try and specifically put people around that are going to challenge me and force me to do my job better, or at a minimum to stop effing up all the time.
Well, that seems to make a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally.
It's amazing how much people hate that. Hate doing that stuff.
So okay, so now currently you have Option Pit, and do you have people like physically come? Do you have like a physical office that some customers come to, or is it pretty much all done through the internet and through the website?
So I have a physical office, but customers rarely come here.
Okay,
Um, I will have a customer come every now and again. They'll pay me for like a day or two of time
okay,
and spend the day with me, and we'll work on stuff. So, I had an RIA come in, and we worked on hedging strategies for his clients. And so we collectively built some different like tranches of risk hedging for his clients.
cool. And then, but like the majority of people are, do you have how's Option Pit set up? Is it a subscription service or is it just
So
individual
we
services for
we have a
people?
couple of things.
Okay,
People can buy kind of mentoring packages,
okay,
or they can have a subscription, do a subscription to just kind of hang out in my chat room, or you can get Andrew's volatility newsletter that he works on, or my friend Keith, who's also a Group One guy, um, is runs a directional trading platform, and uh, and so yeah, we have all kinds of stuff.
yeah. I've seen you do some seminars on the weekends.
Yeah, and we'll have people come in. Yeah, I've done a Saturday class. We'll have people people come in to do that.
Nice. So let's talk about the hedge fund for a second.
Sure.
When did that get going, and what's that all about?
That's been around for a couple of years. It started as just a vol fund, and then what we realized was, yeah, volatility is really interesting, but it's not a space you can really grow in to become a huge fund unless and so we started kind of what we think is a smarter way of being long the market using S&P options and a VIX hedging strategy that we have at um, that we now run, and that's been around since kind of the beginning of the year, um, that's what I hired the CEO to actually raise money for.
Is it a lot of red tape to start a hedge fund?
It is.
Yeah, I saw some YouTube video talking about how to with all the hoops you have to jump through to get there,
It's a
and
pain. Yeah.
and it seems like the hedge fund industry has really had a bad rap as of late. Um, I mean, I like watching that show Billions and everything, but
It's that, which is ridiculous.
right, right,
That is not the way anybody operates in the world at all.
right.
I mean, the old joke is that Hollywood assumes that the business community operates like them, and that's how they make business people so evil. And from my experience, there's always guys that'll fuck you for a dollar, right? Pardon my French, but you may have to beep that. But most people, it's a tight community, and they're out to take care of each other.
Mm.
That's what I've always found. Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's been that. Generally speaking, it's a little bit of a fraternity feel or a sorority feel, more a fraternity, where we try to take care of each other.
Well, I can understand why a hedge fund would make sense for you because if it's anything like my experience, the more you're around finance and people know you're into finance and stuff, that people come to you and they want to give you money.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a vehicle for that in some way,
Mm-hmm.
to accommodate that. And it seems
Yeah.
like you've got the perfect vehicle going for that. So how much do you have to invest in that?
Well, I mean, for a smaller, I can waive it down to, for the right person, down to 50,
Okay.
but generally we set it at a quarter.
Okay.
And, the average investment is bigger than that.
So it's sort of like qualified investor type
Yeah, it's a
kind of
qualified
stuff.
investor or, friend and family, you can do some waivers there.
Because in a sense, you don't want people who are going to like need to take it out to pay rent or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And these are people that it should be money that they want to see in a couple of years, not next month. Yeah, there's nothing worse than and I actually don't like taking a lot of small investors because they tend to be the biggest pains,
Yeah. That makes
um,
sense.
because it means a lot more to them, which is fair, right?
Yeah. So how would you say yours differentiates from other ones?
I
Like.
don't think anybody's doing this broad my kind of S&P fund. Nobody's doing exactly what we're doing in any way.
Okay.
Where not a put selling fund, where a we kind of flip our delta based on what the market is doing. So we run it kind of as a wheel. You know what a wheel is, where you sell a put to take delivery, and then you start selling covered calls against it until you get called away, and then you sell another put.
Okay.
And then we've got some a proprietary hedging strategy
Hmm.
where if stuff starts to look really ugly, we'll start buying um, VIX futures or VXX or things like that to lift some volatility. So like for instance, we started to we started to kind of look at if things that would have continued on Wednesday into Thursday, we probably would have started doing some hedging on Thursday.
Okay.
But generally speaking, we'll give up a couple of percentage points because you don't really need to hedge a couple of percentage points. What we really want to hedge is against the major corrective sell-off, right? The
Hmm.
2008s. That's really what we care about.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was interviewing this guy Don Kaufman from TheoTrade the other day, and really interesting dude that started, I guess, Thinkorswim and stuff. And he was talking about looking at he had access to like every TD Ameritrade account, like what every retail investor was doing in their portfolio. And he was saying like on the like that 2008, a lot of people were losing money, but there were a few people who were just killing it to the downside. And
Yeah.
somehow that's
Hmm.
stuck in my head lately, and I'm thinking, there has to be some strategy to switch gears when it actually really does start going to the
Yeah.
downside to either protect yourself or make money. And I've noticed you and Andrew have been some of the only ones and the quickest ones to sort of switch gears when vol becomes bid and
Yeah.
actually put on long positions. And that, in my mind, has really differentiated you guys from a lot of other people in the VIX space, is that you've been willing to trade both sides, and you've been out ahead of a lot of this stuff. February, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Well, the key to volatility. A lot of people think, with stocks, what's the old saying with stocks? Buy low,
Sell high, yeah.
sell high. With vol, you sell low and buy lower, and you buy high and sell higher.
Mm,
Um, volatility more than anything is a momentum play.
mm,
Um, most of the time it has no inertia at all, and it just sits there, right? So it goes to 10. But when it really moves, it keeps moving until it stops. And so there's a lot of opportunity to be long. And we found that that's actually the best way to hedge. Just-in-time hedging over time, just-in-time hedging, in other words, giving up a few percentage points to the downside to not be hedged all the time,
mm-hmm.
will make you so much more money than constantly running a static hedge program, because static hedging programs are super, super expensive,
Mm,
and really only the ultra rich should run static hedge programs,
mm.
in my opinion. And those that care more about just retention than actually growing. If you're really interested in growing your account, then a static hedging program will kill your ability to make money.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, because you're so buttoned up that there's little place to actually make money.
Mm-hmm.
It
Correct.
it's I've noticed with social media and like the StockTwits and things like that, people really line up in camps, and it's analogous to politics also. But people are either bulls or bears, and they pick a stock, or maybe they'll pick a product, and they only stay on one side. And so there's a whole bunch of volatility bulls who are studying the process of when do you buy volatility to sell it higher, and there's a whole separate group of people who are when do you sell it, but the group of people that do both is so small.
Mm-hmm.
It's so small.
Yeah, I mean, if you're married to being short vol or long vol, you are setting yourself all. What people don't realize is, oh, I'm a short vol trader. Really, what you are is long the market. And you look at the returns that XIV had leading into its crash. Most of that inordinate return was a really high beta to the S&P 500,
right.
And people looked at that and said, oh, look how great XIV is. It just goes up. No, all you're doing is taking the other side of somebody's hedge. Even in a product like SVXY or XIV, or if you're shorting VXX, you are taking the other side of somebody's hedge.
Right.
And that is it.
Right.
And that's
and when the market rallies straight up, the hedge doesn't come in, and you collect your money.
And you collect your money. Yeah. And so there really was a lot less vol premium in XIV than people realized, and it was so much beta to the S&P. It was pretty unbelievable.
So you could have bought a 3 times S&P fund and
had almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was looking at Blair Hull has that computer. What is it called? Computer learning fund.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're either short or long. What do you think of something like that?
I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. I don't really understand it, but
yeah, I don't. I've got to look more into it. I've met Blair. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Little strange, but he's a very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I actually that kind of piques my interest. I'd love to see it. If you've got some stuff, send that over. I'd love to read about it.
Yeah, I don't know why I just thought of that, but I guess when I was thinking of you're talking about hedge fund, long and short, I guess they have they'll figure out how much long or short they want to be the S&P based on all this computer learning stuff, and that's how their fund works, something like that.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. So what? All right. So this sounds like a job interview question here. But where do you see things going forward in 10 years from now? What would be the ideal for you? You make $1 zillion trading and don't have to do any of this stuff,
I like the education, business, and consulting.
Okay.
I really do. I think that where we're going to be in 10 years is probably running. Slowly automating some of the actual mentoring, running a few of these, newsletters still, and hopefully making $1 billion on the fund. If the fund made $1 billion, I probably would still run this firm because I like it. I like my customers. I like the people I work with. And I like having something to do when I'm rather than just staring at paint. And I like helping people.
Yeah.
I also like the sound of my own voice. So that all adds up.
Do you think that the options, the way options are set up now with the way it's automated with screen trading and stuff, do you think that stabilizes at this point? Because it seems like it's sort of stabilizing a little bit right now.
What do you mean in terms of?
How we trade options these days. We just, we look at a screen, we click the bid or the offer. There's a limited amount of, I guess, firms that are market making right now. Does a business stay like this? It just with sort of computerized?
I think that it will. I think it will. Okay. I think what we need is for PFOF to be illegal, and then that will change the whole business. Where we are heading is, I'm working as a partner with Tradier and TradeHawk. Lex was a former floor guy, and they've developed a system where essentially you pay one monthly fee and you can trade all you want, and it's because of PFOF. which is good for the customer. But at some point, I think you're going to see someone come down on payment for order flow, and that will be the game changer, because right now, um, and you'll see a lot of people come back to trading because right now the big issue we have is liquidity.
Hmm.
I think that liquidity in everything that isn't a top 50 stock is really an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. When you were talking, I know we were talking on Options Insider Radio
Yeah.
about the 1 penny put trade and all that.
Yeah.
Can you just explain how the payment for order flow thing works for you for that? How you don't have to pay as much as some other people do?
Yeah. So because I'm a fund, I'm a customer, and I don't do what's called all-in pricing. A lot of brokers will try and sell you on what they call all-in pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and I told my guys, no, I'm not taking all-in pricing, and they said, why? And I said, because I want to collect payment, and they're like, oh, well, because most customers don't know about that. They just think, hey, I'm gonna get myself a deal. But in the end, that's not the case. You're actually all-in pricing is bad for the customer. So what I do is I pay a commission, I pay clearing, and then I pay the exchange fees. However, most exchanges actually pay you if you make a market. So I go in VXX in the Jan 2019 10 puts, and I post a bid for 1,000 of the Jan 10 puts. I'm going to do that right now while we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put 500. You'll watch this. You'll like this. And so I'm posting the bid.
Okay.
And they'll post it on the CBSX Chicago, which is basically C2. So it's the second CBOE option exchange. And if I post it there, I'll pay, and I get hit, I'll pay a penny for the option. I'll pay my brokerage, but C2 pays me 40 cents for making a market.
Oh, wow.
So the guy that hits me pays more than that, but I get paid 40 cents. So my penny out, and there's my bid. My
Okay, so I
my
see
penny option.
C2 penny bid here. That's cool.
Yeah, that's me. And so and my net payment is actually below the penny that I paid for the option, because my 40 cents back is more than I pay in brokerage and clearing.
Oh, nice.
So it becomes a free trade.
Yeah.
Almost. So if I buy, 15,000 of them, my net cost is $12,000, and we get a little downside move in VXX, which could totally happen. I might sell these at 30 or 40 cents.
Right.
That's not a bad way to make a living.
No. And I, like I said before, I love the idea of accumulating units anywhere you can from a risk risk management philosophy standpoint. Yeah,
yes.
Great. Yeah, it kind of is confusing to me why listeners to that show are so interested in that one particular trade, but I think
because it's a penny. That's why.
Okay, yeah. So I think it is an interesting trade, but they seem obsessed with it. It's funny.
Yeah, it's a penny, and they're fascinated by the fact that I'm trying to make $500,000 on a trade that I paid $12,000 for.
So if I'm using a brokerage that I have the other thing where I forget what it's called, but I'm paying
commission.
Normal commission.
You wouldn't do this trade.
Is my firm though? Are they getting the payment for order flow in the background?
They likely are routing it. So when you're a customer of a brokerage firm and you're paying commission, they're likely also selling your order to a name like Citadel and Susquehanna, and probably making as much or more off of your flow than they're actually making off of your commission.
That's what I was wondering about. Yeah, makes total sense to me, and I know that happens in
So
the stock world too.
it does, and I yell at TD. I had a relatively heated conversation with TD with the heads of TD Ameritrade about this at a certain point.
Well,
Um,
I recognized when I started talking on that radio show about TD that you weren't too much of a fan. That
you
came.
know, I like them. I
Mhm.
like the people that work there. But they, you know, the amount of money they're making off of their customers, where their customers don't know how much money they're making, is
Right, right,
unbelievable.
right.
Fidelity and Schwab, all those ones that, all those big, huge brokerage firms. I'm not a fan of. Of the big, huge brokerage firms, I will say TD is my favorite.
Okay.
So if you want to be with a massive brokerage group like Schwab or Fidelity or TD Ameritrade, which is fine, TD is my favorite. How
Hmm.
about that? I think that's a nice way of putting that together, don't
Yeah,
you?
there you go. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any particular axe to grind. I was just interested.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of traders. I have a couple different signups so that if I get in a fight with one of them, I can go to the next one
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly. I think that's fairly common among traders, and
Yes.
especially since I've been trading VIX products, like they tend to have different margin requirements. And like coming into like last year, actually in the fall of last year, a lot of them sort of upped the requirements, so people were bouncing
Mm-hmm.
around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Do you trade a lot of VIX, or is it mostly just
I
mostly
trade.
the ETNs and ETFs?
Yeah, it's just ETNs, ETFs, and I also just trade equity option
Okay.
stocks. But yeah, like I remember you said there that like you can't trade the futures on I think Thinkorswim is what you're saying. But
Uh,
go ahead.
no, you can trade the futures, but they weren't running their theoreticals off of
Oh right,
they
that's
don't
right.
run
Yeah,
their theoreticals off of VIX.
right, which
Um,
makes no sense. Yeah.
right.
So I guess maybe you
And that's
could you manually update the price, or I guess you could, but that's a hassle.
right. It is.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't messed with the actual VIX options as of yet. I mean, I kind of follow them and stuff, but I haven't messed with
Yeah.
them as of yet.
I think like them a little better than the ETNs because they're a little more cut and dry,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what the underlying is and what's going to do. You don't have to worry about your role and everything like that. You can just
Right.
look and see. You know, it's so I do trade both though.
Yeah, I mean, I got caught up in that whole UVXY nerfing thing last
Oh yeah,
in
no,
February.
I'm.
I was long premium, and it killed me.
Oh good. You know what? I'll talk to you about that offline if you wanna chat.
Yeah, it's frustrating and it's annoying. But anyways, that's the past, and the way I describe it to some of the people that follow me is like, crazy stuff happens in trading, and when you're on the floor, your handheld goes down, the batteries
Yeah.
go out, and you're screwed, and there's nobody to cry to. It's just
No.
part of the game. Sometimes you buy instead of sell, and it works out great. uh,
Yes.
I had a little bit of a brief experience of actually that board of trade thing where you're in the options pit and the futures pit is on the other side, and you actually use your hands to arb
Yep.
buying it. And that was kind of,
Yep.
I mean, even though I was only there for a little bit and I didn't know what was going on at all, it was kind of interesting to be in that environment just for a little bit. It felt like like a real trader or something like that for a second.
So
All right. Well, listen, I really, really appreciate you coming and talking to me.
yeah, this was
I've wanted
great.
to interview you for so long, and finally it's
Yeah,
happened.
this
So
was
that's
fun. I'm
great.
sorry it took us so long to get together.
Oh no, not at
I'd
all.
love to come on again anytime.
Yeah,
And
great.
yeah, the other person you should talk to is my operations person I was just talking to you about was one of the is a female and was a floor trader in the 90s on the SIBO. So
Oh, cool.
she's got some interesting war stories that I think the audience would want to hear.
Oh, great. Well, I'll get information from you for that,
Yeah.
offline. And look, you do a great job for people just learning, and I know a ton of people that really enjoy all your content. So keep
Well,
it up.
yeah,
You're
thanks.
making a difference, and it's awesome. So
Thanks.
thank you
Appreciate
for
that.
all your contributions. And where can viewers watch you? You have a YouTube channel, correct? And the
Yeah,
website.
yeah. At your YouTube channel is Option Pit, and follow me on Twitter at Option Pit, and OptionPit.com is our website. So it's not hard to find me.
Awesome. Well, there you go, folks. Thanks for watching today's show, and we will see you next time. And thanks once again to Mark, and good luck trading today, folks. See you next time.
Yeah.